JLo gave me a run for my money, man. I really struggled. Ew, this isn't working. I'm so nervous. Hey guys, Orly here. Welcome to my channel. I'm so glad that you found me. For those of you that are new, and for all of my people, thanks for being here for another week. I love you so freaking much. Today's kind of a weird video. Well, it's a weird video for me because normally I have like an inspo, I get my materials, I start working on it, I make changes so it's like much more my style, and I'm stoked on it, and I model like a freak in my front yard, and I dance around. Today is a wee bit different because I think I did a good job, but I'm not sure. I'm gonna need your thoughts. Be kind, because you know how much this stuff means to me, so be kind. But I need to know your thoughts. So basically, here's the deal. I saw on Instagram JLo promoting she had this new video, right? I love JLo so much. I think she's just so over the top and fabulous. And she always gives me lots of inspirations for the like glam diva in me. So I was waiting for this video to drop. And then she started sharing like bits of the video. And she shared this one bit where it showed two outfits from the video. There was this really cool, like, it was a black blazer with this like big thigh cutout with all this crystal fringe hanging down in all different sizes. And it was so beautiful. And I'm like, dang, that is cool. And then I also saw the outfit where she's wearing the like pleated pants and the crisscross satin crop top, and she's got her hair all tousled and the big crystal earrings, and she's doing the whole dance, which I will not pretend I can do because I'm not a TikToker. But I saw those outfits and I was like, I think I could recreate the looks from JLo's music video. These pieces could be worn separately in regular life. Like this blazer could be worn open with jeans and a tee. And I am a huge fan of the pleated pants right now. I think they're so cool when you wear them really high with like a belt. I just love them. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make these three. I'll wear them in my regular life and I'll recreate them. I think that I saved it and I think I made something cool. Maybe, maybe not. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you are brand new, I hope that you'll subscribe and click notifications. All right, guys, let's do it. I'm so nervous. So first I went downtown to try to get all the materials for my blazer. Okay, I would just like to say that I was fully content buying this just like fringe trim, and Benjamin was not having it. He was like, absolutely not. We can do better than that.
We are perfectionists and we know you're amazing, so.
He's giving me like every size variation so I can really replicate it. So we're gonna have nice big ones here. I'm still gonna do the big ones that I bought. Cut like an inch off of this so that I'll have that small one, and then we're gonna do that size right there. That's perfect. And now it was time to go to the thrift store to see if I could find the pleated pants. So I hit up the Valley Value Center in my area and I found a pair that looked pretty darn good. The color is right, and I think I'll be able to make this one work. Okay, so these are the pants that I got at the thrift store. They were $3 in the men's section. That's gonna be probably your best bet. So this is how big they are on me. You can see there's about 4 inches I need to get rid of. So the first thought I had was I would kind of use the pleats in the front and maybe just create one more exaggerated pleat on either side. If I could pull out like, I don't know, maybe 2 inches on each side by just making an extra pleat, maybe I didn't need to do the back at all. So I lay them flat and I kind of started playing around with where I could put the pleats so that they looked natural. A couple things were in my way, so you're gonna wanna remove any buttons on the inside. I also needed to remove the belt loops because those would have ended up being like cannibalized by the pleat. So you want to save the belt loops because you can reuse them to hide any of your fixes later. So make sure that you remove them in a way that keeps it nice and clean and allows you to use them again. I'm just sort of folding it and looking at it, trying to figure out exactly where I can create pleats that are going to look natural. Now, the waistband is really thick because there's like fusing and there's all sorts of materials inside that waistband to make it really structured. So I couldn't pin through the waistband. What I did is I started removing some of that bulk from the waistband. So a seam ripper kind of got me access inside, and then my scissors I was able to cut out like all the fusible and everything. And this made it much easier not only to sew this section out, but it was gonna make it less bulky when I actually trimmed off my excess. So you're doing the same thing on both sides. You're just going to sew straight down. And what I did is I stopped right at the waistband at first, just to see, like, I wanted to make sure it worked. And it actually works pretty well. I mean, I could pull another inch or two out of the back, but I'd have to do this entire process all over again. Instead, I thought, you know what I can do? I can hide the 2 seams with the old belt loops and then I can just put a belt on it. Now you wanna press those new pleats you created. That's gonna allow this to look intentional, again, like this pleat was always meant to be there. Now I'm hiding my very imperfect tailoring with the belt loop. So basically I am sewing the bottom part first. Most belt loops are like this, where you sew the bottom part and then it kind of folds up and over. And so you're really only seeing the stitch on the outside. So I put both belt loops in place. So now my sort of pleats that I created in the front and the waistband are being hidden. Now it's time to cut off all of that excess from the inside, basically the 4 inches that I took out. This is how it ends up looking. I sewed down basically just like right here to here on that side. And then over here, about here to here. I'm iffy, you guys. I mean, when I wear them, they're gonna look cute on, but you know, it's not legit. I'm not super proud of myself, to be honest. All right, let's move on to something else. I'm gonna attempt this top. However, I'm gonna make some changes because I don't love how open it is. Like, it's a crop top, it's open back, it's open in the front, on the sides. So I'm gonna change it a little bit. All right, I'm gonna make this a super quick one because basically it is the same as the Infinity bodysuit that I made a couple weeks ago. So if you wanna see that in a lot more detail, which that video has, you can head over there. So for this, basically it's gonna be the same idea. This fabric right now is folded in half. So when I open them, they'll be twice as long, but I'm cutting 2 pieces at 13 inches wide. That's gonna give me enough coverage that I can still create that keyhole in the middle, but not be quite as open. Just like the Infinity top in my other video, I tapered the straps so that they got a little bit thinner as they went, so it wasn't quite so bulky when I tied it up. Now you wanna clean finish your ends. So depending on your fabric, you'll either do like the double fold or you can do an overlock and fold. And so again, if you wanna see this in a lot of detail, you can go to the other Infinity wrap bodysuit. But basically what I'm doing is I am pinning the 2 straps directly into a pair of like boy shorts to make it basically a bodysuit. You can leave it safety pinned if you wanna do no sew. If not, once you get it all pinned in the kind of angle and direction that feels right, then you would just do a simple straight stitch or zigzag if it's all stretch all the way around, tacking it into place. But you can see basically you're just gonna adjust the angles so that it's creating a flattering shape. You can pull nice and taut against them so that you can tie them up like a halter top, and you've got this great piece you could wear later with jeans or something like that. All right, now we're gonna move on to this bad boy. Guys, this put me through the ringer. I don't know why, but okay, with such short notice, I couldn't get my hands on a blazer dress, so I found this at the thrift store, and it was a size large, so I was like, okay, maybe it's big enough that I can actually wear it like a dress, it's long enough. It ends up giving me some problems because it is so like large and big on me, so I really recommend starting with a blazer dress that's tailored to you and fits you right, because then all you really have to do is worry about this curve. So I started eyeballing it. I did a pin center front thigh, then one up high. I lowered it a little bit, but basically this is my shape. All you really need is your outer corners and your height, and then you can eyeball and connect them into a nice natural curve. Once you create that curve with a little bit of chalk, you're gonna cut it, but just keep in mind that you need to give yourself about a 1/4 inch seam allowance in order to clean finish it. So either cut it a little bit smaller or mark it a little bit smaller, but just give yourself that seam allowance so it doesn't get bigger than you intended. Now I'm folding back a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around this, and I'm using a lot of pins because curved seams can be a little tricky to sew. Now again, because mine was a regular blazer, I'm able to sew close the center front, turning it into a dress, and then I'm just gonna sew right around that edge. I have done that, everything is sewn, and here are all my trims. So this is everything I got from Imperial. I got a variety of sizes so that I could kind of alternate and have some fun with it. So first one was this sort of thin, like really only a few inches of this trim. I'm gonna cut them up into individual pieces. I also got this larger one, this medium one, and then these glass beads, which I thought would be really cool just for a little bit of variety. So for the glass beads, they're connected by these rings. If you use these, you're just gonna take them apart to make them the right size. So exactly how you attach the beads is super dependent on what kind of trim and beads you actually are working with. Since these beads had a hole in them, what I did is I took my needle and thread and I went up through the bottom of my jacket to hide the knot at the beginning of my thread. Then I came back down so I was back on the inside of my jacket. That's when I then strung the bead through, and I did that a couple of times so that everything was hidden on the inside and the glass bead could just sort of hang right at the edge of the jacket. So this is kind of how they all started, right? I came up through the bottom, I would go back down so I was inside, and then I would attach the trim. It's gonna be specific to yours, but if you end up with a trim like this, what I did is actually go through the prongs. So on this particular one, I went through the prongs on both sides, pulled it, and that way when I sewed it and tacked it down to my blazer, they were able to kind of float and dangle about. I didn't want them to be too tight so that they pushed against the edge of the blazer. This one here, the like really lightweight fringe, I actually realized it was easier to flip my jacket inside out and glue just a couple of them down so that they were easier to hand sew. So a little bit of glue, I tacked them down, and then I went back in and hand sewed them. Now this is where I was at, and it just felt unfinished to me. Like, it just felt like they were coming out of nowhere. So I thought it might work, or at least for my style, maybe to create almost like an anchor, like a border of some sort. So I grabbed another trim that I had, and with a little bit of E6000, again, I anchored it into place and went back in and hand sewed it, only tacking it. You know, every few inches, come up, tack it, go back down, skip an inch, come up, tack it. It moves super fast. And this is where I was at. I'm still undecided, but I'm gonna wait and see how everything looks when I'm like fully styled. So I kind of wanted to make this situation just the top, not the full like cat suit, but just the top. And I thought, ooh, this as like a bodysuit would be really cool. I had the idea super late, and I started trying to work with a bodysuit that I had and a mesh shirt that I had, and the whole thing was a failure. I'm not even gonna show you the DIY because it did not work, and I don't recommend doing what I did. So that's it, I'm gonna be done. I'm calling it quits on this one. It's the moment of truth. I'm gonna go outside and model like a freak in my front yard, and I'm very nervous for your feedback.
Papi, papi.